What's up, Fumble fam? I'm Brooke.
And I'm Noelle, and you're listening to Girls Don't Fumble, the #1 sports podcast for NFL Girl Talk.
We sift through all the football news so you don't have to.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back, Fumblers. We are here with another special episode of Girls Don't Fumble. Noelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. We're pumped on this episode. I know we've had a little bit of like a 2-week break.
Oh my God.
We're excited to get down to business for this one. We're having no off-season storylines. We've talked a lot about what players are doing in the off-season, but it's time to talk about the NFL draft. What do you think?
I think it's time. The draft is tomorrow.
1 day away. 24-hour countdown begins right now.
Oh my God.
We'll see when we post the episode. Yeah. 1 day away.
The draft is upon us, and this is going to change everything in the NFL. The stakes are so high.
The stakes are high. The crowd is pumped. A lot of people are descending on Detroit as we speak. Some are probably already there.
Yep.
I saw some pictures of what the draft and what that whole event looks like. Tell me why it looks like the Sahara Tent at Coachella.
Is the draft in Indio this year? Yeah. Weekend 3, Coachella is the draft.
Oh, so that's why they're setting up chairs afterwards. Got it.
That's why Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were at Coachella. They're getting to the draft early.
Yeah, they wanted front row seats right in front. Artist viewing area. That's actually front row of the draft.
All access pass draft 2024.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, we're excited. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about our top 4 QBs. We're talking about the QBs because they are the most crucial part of every team. And how these teams are going to be choosing the QBs will really determine. It's like a domino effect of what will happen for the rest of the teams. All 32 teams will get 7 rounds. So there'll be lots to cover from that, but we're just focusing on the QBs because there's a lot to discuss on the backgrounds of the players, so much more.
Exactly. Yeah. We could sit here all day long if you guys wanted to go through every single player that would get taken in the draft. It's like over 200 men. But the QBs are exciting because we know they're all going to be kind of snatched up within the top 10, 11 picks of the draft. So giving you guys a preview on these guys will give you something to watch. And obviously, QBs have the opportunity to really take a franchise that maybe didn't have such a great year last year and really turn it around. So we're excited to get into the top 4 QB prospects.
Absolutely.
You guys want to explain to your audience what the NFL draft is?
I know we did.
You guys got it.
You got it.
You want me to chime in? Okay.
Producer Pete, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello, Fumblers. Good to be here. Okay, so the NFL draft, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to explain it to you as if you've never watched an NFL game before. But there's 2 things I think you should keep in mind when you're thinking about the NFL draft. One of which is that players don't play in the NFL that long. You actually average about like 3.5 years is how long you play in the NFL. So when you think about that, you constantly have people leaving your team, leaving the NFL, which means you constantly need to be filling your team with more players. Where do those players come from? They come from college teams. So what ends up happening is if you sucked the most the year before, you get to pick first in the draft, right? So it's the NFL's way of really trying to make fairness across the league. Quarterback being the position that it is in this market of the NFL where, it really is just the key component of any team. You see that with the Chiefs constantly winning Super Bowls. Before that, it was the Patriots. That's why quarterbacks tend to go in the first round. But it happens every year. It's an annual event. It's in Detroit this year, like they said. Sahara Tent, apparently. Bring your glow sticks. And what else do I want to add? That's it, I believe. It's the draft, right? It's kind of like going to war. You're getting picked by somebody, and then you really don't have a choice. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting draft this year. A lot of QBs that are going to go in the early rounds, and I think the girls are going to take it from here and talk about each of these gentlemen.
You did a great job, babe.
I love that.
Thank you so much. I'll be here all day. Producer Pete, checking out.
For now. I think that you covered most of it. One thing that I think was a little left out and nuanced is in general, like the teams that didn't do as good will get like the earlier picks, but they're earlier picks. Geez.
Oh my God.
But there are some nuances to that. There are some teams who will trade up. Maybe if there's a team that other team has a player that they want to take, then they can trade for draft picks. And we'll see this in some of the stories and some of the players that we're going to be previewing today. We'll see some examples of that, but ultimately the teams have the power. But that doesn't mean that, the teams, they still do a lot, and the players do have to, there's a lot that goes into kind of like pre-draft. Things like the combine or pro day to kind of show off their physical skills and their athletic ability and how well they make decisions in the pocket if you're a QB. There's, those kind of events where they can really show their athletic skills off. And then there's teams that will, they'll take the prospects out to dinner and they'll host interviews just to see who they are. They'll do like a lot of background on where they came from. They'll show film of, a game that they maybe didn't do so good in, and they'll say, what would you have done differently? They really put them on the spot there, and they want to get to know the players in every aspect and really judge like how high their football IQ is. So leading up to the draft, it's not like nothing happens. Like these prospects are meeting with multiple teams. So there is a lot that goes into it. And I'm sure we'll get into some details on some of our top 4 players.
Yeah, let's do it. And before we get into the top players, just to give you guys a picture on which teams are picking first, so you have an idea of who is getting their chance to grab at these men. We have in the top 5 positions of picks 1 through 5 in the first round. Number 1 pick is going to be the Bears. Quick nuance with them is they didn't actually finish in last place last season, but they had traded with the Panthers last year, and now they are benefiting from that and getting to pick number 1. So they actually have 2 picks in the first round, but they are definitely scoring with that 1 first overall pick. Number 2, the Washington Commanders. 3, the Patriots. RIP their dynasty without Tom Brady. Maybe they'll pick their next Tom.
Who knows?
4 Cardinals, and then 5 Chargers. So those are some teams that are going to be picking in the top 5. But of course, there can be trades that happen. There are teams beyond this top 5, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders come to mind that really need a quarterback. They don't have a man ready to catch the ball behind the center when the season starts.
Juicy stuff. This is where the NFL tea really comes out.
Exactly. So it's like they're kind of desperate right now, and they're willing to give up a lot of their picks and try to trade to the top because they're in, not a great position, and the teams kind of at the top that don't need a quarterback, like the Cardinals and the Chargers.
Yep.
They might, say, hey guys, what do you have to offer me?
Yeah.
They'll just kind of get to know what the other teams can offer them, and maybe we'll see a trade up. Maybe they'll be able to get to kind of that top pick spot, but that's where we stand right now, just how the season shook out. But on draft day, I know it's going to be crazy. There's going to be owners calling each other, trying to trade spots and just really lock up those top QB spots. But did I miss anything there? We want to get into the men.
I think that's it. But overall, the draft can change everything.
Everything. The stakes are high. The men are
higher because they're tall.
Yeah, the men are really tall. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, without further ado, let's introduce our very first, probably top, many would say top, draft pick this year. We're talking about Caleb Williams, 22 years old, 215 pounds, 6'1", and he is one of the most talked about players going into the draft because a lot view him as the most talented, the one with the most potential, and the highly, highly, highly favored, like 99% to go to that number 1 spot and go play for the Chicago Bears.
Love that.
Love that.
I also actually, one thing I wanted to add on that is during the draft, there's a lot of sports betting that goes on. And I think Caleb Williams is like, the odds of him being the first overall pick is very, very high.
Oh, we love that. So don't bet on him being anything other than the first pick.
Yeah. Like, it's an obvious choice, but that also means that you probably won't win as much because so many people are saying that. But had to throw that in there. Like that's how confident everybody is that he'll be in that first overall pick.
And he's kind of confident about it too. I feel like he's been in so many interviews where he's like, I'm going to be the next greatest quarterback of all time. So he's ready to get picked to that number one spot.
That confidence on that man is very high. We love to see it though. You need that.
We do. Yes.
The NFL.
You need it to be exactly competing as a top quarterback in the NFL. But to give some background on our friend Caleb, he started off his college career playing at Oklahoma University. He started his freshman year as a backup quarterback to Spencer Rattler. And during week 6 of his freshman year, they're playing their rivals. And Spencer was like shitting the bed a little bit. He was not doing well at all. So coach said, hey, you know what? Let's just throw Caleb in there. What's the worst thing that could happen? He leads a come from behind victory and then starts every game after that for the rest of the season. So he just kind of becomes an instant star for that team. Bye, Spencer. Sorry for you. And after that year, Coach Lincoln Riley, who is at Oklahoma, he ends up going to USC to be the head coach there. And Caleb follows him to USC.
So that's what led him there. That's amazing.
I don't know if that's like what he said, but it's like it happened the same exact time frame. So it's like he could probably just, Lincoln was like, come with me, Caleb. I can make you a star in Los Angeles.
Come with me. Willy Wonka, no.
Anyone? So after that, he played the next 2 years of his college career at USC, where we know him to be coming from today. In 2022, he went 11-3, so not bad at all. But he ended up losing the Pac-12 championship to Utah, kind of a blowout, devastating game there. But he did so well that he won the Heisman that year in 2022. Yes. So really exciting year for him. Definitely a breakout year for Caleb. Then last year, not so great for USC, a 7-5 record. So nothing really to write home about there. But I think just people seeing his skill level, how he plays the ball, he is still thought of again as the top recruit, the top draft pick, despite the not so exciting season in Los Angeles. Yeah. But I do think this move to USC, although it didn't lead him to, a national title, it does kind of fit in really well with his persona. He's a little bit of a celebrity, a fashionista in the LA area. I know he always posts on Instagram from his gorgeous downtown penthouse. And he's kind of into the influencer life. I know he gets recognized a lot around LA. People are always coming up to him. And one thing, of course, that everyone's talking about is the fact that he paints his nails.
My favorite thing about him.
I think it's so fun. And I don't know how many people actually hate on it. I think it's just something to talk about because we don't see it very often.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're used to the macho man, the typical macho man character that's in football. So it's just new, but it's 2024, let men paint their nails if it makes them happy.
Exactly. And I'm I just think this is probably the product of him being a Gen Z too. Gen Z men are painting their nails and it's there's nothing more to it. Also, his mom was a nail tech growing up, so he would always go and get his nails done with her. So I think he's grown up with this. He's in LA. A lot of people lean a lot into fashion and edginess, and the kids are going to paint their nails, and I love it. I love something different. I also kind of challenging, the older men who are watching football, and if he is performing for their team, they're not going to care what color his nails are painted. They just want him to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've also seen musicians like Machine Gun Kelly paint his nails. I'm sure there's a lot more others, but that one comes to mind to me. And he's also a fashion icon, and he just kind of does what he wants. And I think that will be really great to see is if he has this winning record, if he ends up going to the Bears and this man has his nails painted, what could be better? And I feel for his brand too, that he's getting drafted, it only adds more press for him. Good way, bad way. I support it, but I think it helps.
I think it's smart. I think it's anything that gets the people talking.
Exactly.
Why not? like photo or video of him that kind of went viral where he had the pink nails, pink phone case, and kind of pink lips and was just like, throwing it around. And he looked so precious. And I thought to myself, he's kind of baby girl.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I think we have our first baby girl quarterback in the NFL.
At least for 2024. I totally agree with that. I think someone else that we label as baby girl, like first person that comes to mind is Pedro Pascal, and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed with that statement.
I was like, he's just like a sweet little baby girl quarterback. And if we have any like male listeners that don't know what baby girl is, it's basically just like a guy who's cute and has a sensitive side. And I think we see that through his, his pink fashion and not really fitting into the typical tough guy quarterback mold that we're used to seeing from a lot of players. And I love it. I love the change. I love something new.
We need something new. He's bringing some flavor, some sass, some confidence.
Bringing some sass to the draft.
What a sassy man.
I love a sassy QB. I can't wait to see like next year too, like, his fashion and his whole look going through the tunnel on game days is going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Chicago's got to be pumped right now.
I feel like if we ever do, which I'm sure we will do, Fits from the Tunnel segments, he will be in that conversation, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So that's a little bit about Caleb Williams. And again, like we talked about, it is so just set in stone, basically, that he is going to the Bears. And the Bears did let go of their previous quarterback, Justin Fields, now on the Steelers. They also, joining wide receiver DJ Moore, they traded for wide receiver Keenan Allen this offseason. So they're really getting those weapons on hand for him. They also traded for DeAndre Swift, running back. So they are really ready to rock this season. I think, they have those trades they made. As I mentioned, they have 2 first-round picks. So after they get Caleb, they get to pick, I think it's pick 9. So they are going to get...
They're stacked.
They're going to be stacked.
Yeah. I feel like they're going to be a really fun team to watch. Obviously, they're going to have that new QB in the locker room with a lot of weapons surrounding him, and really talented young man. I was going to say fine young man.
Just a fine young man.
Fine young men. I can't wait to watch them.
I can't wait either. And I know a lot of people are saying that this might be the year that the Bears might have, Super Bowl contention. And what a lot of people don't know, the reason that the Bears haven't won a Super Bowl in the last 40 years is because of a cheerleading squad.
Let's hear it.
We are not talking about this enough. I'm talking about the curse of the Honey Bears.
Oh gosh, do tell.
So let me set the scene for you. It is 1976. It's Chicago. The Bears just came off a horrible season, not doing great. People are down on the Bears. And the owner, George Halas, I don't know how to say his last name, but he was like, guys, I have the solution. I know how we're going to turn into a winning team. He said, we need cheerleaders. A lot of people were like, excuse me, George? I don't understand. And he was like, the dancing girls will solve our problems.
Okay.
So they move forward with hiring, a cheer coach. They hold auditions. Thousands of girls flock to Chicago for the opportunity to dance on the NFL field and be on this cheerleading squad. Only 28 are chosen, but the girls they chose became the Honey Bears. The Honey Bears were born, and they were an instant hit.
Cute. I love that.
Like, everyone loved them. They were doing, really athletic cheerleading moves. The fans were going crazy. And George Halas even went as far as to say, and I quote, "As long as I'm alive, we will have dancing girls on the sidelines."
Okay.
So he was ready to bet it all for those dancing girls.
Sounds promising.
It sounds promising. So he said, as long as I'm alive and kicking, these girls will be on the sidelines. He did keep that promise, only for 6 years. He passed away in 1983.
Okay.
R.I.P. to our king. So after he dies in 1983, his daughter takes over, Virginia. She said, first order of business, I'm removing these Honey Bears. And everyone's like, oh my God, no, we love the Honey Bears. And apparently George is fighting back from the grave. And he had put a clause in their contract that says we can't get rid of them until at least 1985. So Virginia stuck with the Honey Bears for 2 more seasons. 1985 season rolls around. The Honey Bears take the Bears to the Super Bowl and they win.
Oh my goodness. That's great.
That's great. So we've celebrated a victory with the Honey Bears and the Chicago Bears. And despite getting the Super Bowl win, Virginia still says no more of these girls. She kind of viewed them as like, she called them sex objects and maybe just not the most women empowerment. So she gets rid of them. And since that win in 85, the Bears have not won a Super Bowl. Their winning percentage is down. And people call it the curse of the Honey Bears.
Do they have cheerleaders now?
No.
They still don't.
They don't. They are one of the 8 teams in the NFL that do not have cheerleaders. They got rid of them and they haven't come back despite the fact that they haven't been winning.
Okay, but how crazy would it be if they brought back, let's say this year, Caleb Williams, right? He becomes the QB. Then they bring back the cheerleaders.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What happens then?
Then they have to win. And I feel like Caleb Williams would love this.
I think he would too. I mean, obviously, if he has pink fingernails and a pink phone case, I think he'd love it. And I think the fans would too, but maybe there's a lot more to the story where they're like, they don't want to jinx it. I have no idea, but what is story? Was that like the first time when they first started Honey Bears back in, what year was it? 70, 50?
76.
76. Was that the first time that NFL cheerleaders had been a thing, or it started before that, right?
It started before that because that was my initial thought, because I think there was a lot of pushback when they originally started.
Yeah.
I think the Colts were the first NFL team to have cheerleaders. So they definitely...
1954. The Baltimore Colts. I was looking it up as you guys were talking. Yeah.
The Baltimore Colts does not roll off the tongue.
It does not.
Blah, 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 Colts.
That feels wrong.
Yeah.
And it is now in 2024.
Yeah, 1954. That's crazy.
Okay.
So yeah, the Honey Bears, I mean, it wasn't like they were a new concept.
Yeah.
How much skin do you think they were showing in 1954?
Not a lot. I think I've seen some photos and it was like full, it wasn't cute.
Not any, like maybe like the kneecaps. Maybe they have skirt down to kneecap.
Leggings.
Ooh, that kneecap though.
A brief kneecap showing.
Scandalous.
And the girl said, sex object, get him out.
Too distracting for the game.
Exactly. I mean, if they really want to pull out all the stops for Caleb Williams, they will bring back the Honey Bears. So.
I mean, imagine the entrance onto the field.
Iconic.
Pom-poms, the mascot.
No, the thing is, when I was reading about this, they're like, oh, we won't give you the Honey Bears back, but we'll give you a mascot. And it's just truly not the same thing.
Like, what's holding them back? What? Like,
I don't know. I don't know
it?
if it's ownership or what.
That's interesting. I mean, maybe Caleb has all the powers and he can bring him back to the Super Bowl without the Honey Bears. But
yeah, we'll see if he can break the curse.
We should make Honey Bears. Bring back Honey Bears.
Bring back the Honey Bears merch. End the curse.
Yeah. If there's any Chicago fans out there,
sound off in the comments if you want merch. Yeah, we should find a picture of the Honey Bears and see how many clothes they were wearing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I did find a picture. I just had to Google. Oh my God, hairstyles from the 70s and 80s were so silly. Oh, you guys, they're showing full leg.
Really?
They're doing like a little like swimsuit with sleeve situation and then high boots.
Okay, that makes sense in the 70s and cleavage. Okay, that's cute.
Right here.
Let's see.
We can post this.
Oh, I love that.
They're really
That kind of
cute.
reminds me. Actually, no, never mind. I do think in the 50s though, things were different.
They're still wearing skirts in this photo of the
cute.
Colts.
Okay.
They got cowboy hats on,
Oh, okay.
crew neck sweatshirts, and pretty long skirt. I mean, I don't know, 1954. I thought they'd be in fully covered, but this is like, I don't know. This looks kind of coming back, I feel like now.
Oh wait, I think is it like a black and white photo that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I just pulled this up. Look at these women.
Oh gosh, is that sweatshirts?
No, like that's like truly me like on my way to like my friend's bachelorette party, but like I haven't gone out yet and I'm just in the car and I have my like I have maybe my like sweat shorts on with like a crew neck and I still have my cowboy hat because I didn't want to pack it.
Yeah,
That's
things
what
have
this is
changed
giving.
for NFL cheerleaders, and I love their outfits now.
I know. Oh my God, they look so good. So that was the end of what I had for Caleb Williams. I don't think there's much speculation on where he's going. I think everyone, assumes he's going with the Bears. It would be the most insane thing ever if he didn't go to the Bears. That would be something to really talk about. But
Yeah,
I don't think that's happening. So
Thank you for the story.
you're welcome.
Do you
Brooke
think
didn't tell me about it beforehand because she wanted my real reaction. And what a story. I love that.
I was like, live reveal of the honey bear.
Live
curse.
reveal.
maybe for our first interview we get a honey bear on the pod?
Oh, it'd
I think
be
that's an
insane.
attainable goal. I'll be honest.
Wow.
We could send the honey bears the clip.
Maybe like the last season of Honey Bears when they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, that would be so fun.
Okay, babe, that's
yeah,
your
I'll
task.
do some
I mean,
research.
producer B.
Please.
That's great. Again, we're excited to see what Caleb is going to bring to the table on draft day. I wonder if he's going to be there live in Detroit. I think
hope
some
so.
players, they can choose to be at home. Something else that I thought was interesting was he participated in the UFC Pro Day, which again, like shows off their skills. And what I love about this most is Brooke and I were in the office and we were talking about this. Keenan Allen was there, but they didn't actually like make eye contact or say hi to each other. At least on the field, we didn't see it.
It was so awkward.
That was interesting.
Yeah, Keenan Allen is literally all but like shouting his name into a megaphone and waving his arms, and just Caleb Williams is acting like he never saw him a day in his life.
Yeah, and of course there was more than just Keenan Allen from the Bears. There were head coaches and GMs. I'm sure some other teams were there too, but I thought that was funny to see on the
Yeah.
sidelines.
But I mean, hey, they're sending new bear Keenan Allen out to USC Pro Day to get to know, the new QB. So
The new QB,
we're
who's
excited.
gonna change things around for the franchise. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm really high on the Bears for next season.
I love that.
I'm really excited for them. They
Yeah.
made a lot of moves in this offseason.
Big money moves.
Big ol' money moves. Let's go.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm next. I'm going to be talking next about QB Jayden Daniels. Just to give you some background on Jayden, we're starting off all QBs with some metrics on their body. So, Jayden Daniels, 6'4", 210, and 23 years old.
Wow.
Crazy. He was born in 2000. So, Y2K year.
That's what I've hated about all of this research. It's like, oh, like this big guy that we're like learning so much about, born in 2003.
Yeah,
It hurts.
I was definitely born by that time.
I
leave it at that.
I'd graced the earth at that point in time as well.
Already started school. It's fine. Something else that I thought was interesting about Jayden, he's from San Bernardino, California. For those of you that are from there, it's also known as the Inland Empire. Another QB, star QB, is also from the Inland Empire who plays on the Houston Texans, who is CJ Stroud, which we've talked a little bit about previously. Just to give you some background on Jayden, he is, I want to say, a little bit smaller compared to some of the other prospects in terms of weight. And what this means is when we think about what team will be drafting a QB, they do have to consider that he might need to put on some weight. He might get hit, which he has been in his college days. And that can sometimes be a liability if he's, getting knocked out. Hopefully that doesn't happen, of course, but that is something that a lot of prospects or draft, scouts are looking into. But outside of his weight, he started his football career at ASU. He was there for about 3 years, but something that is really interesting about Jayden is he was the first freshman to start as quarterback at ASU.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
there was no other QBs at ASU as like a full like first freshman, like just right into college. And with that, he led his team to 2 bowl wins, not Pro Bowl wins, but like bowl wins. So
Yeah.
like there's the Orange Bowl and the
Fiesta
Cotton
Bowl,
Bowl.
yeah.
I don't remember which ones, but he did lead his team to 2. And while he was there, he did make some moves. They did okay. I'm not sure exactly what their record was, but in his senior year, he actually transferred to Louisiana State University, where he also began to start as the starting quarterback, and things really took off for him there. As we know, there are some very big QBs to come out of LSU. A few years prior, our boy Joe Burrow, who is now the starting quarterback on the Cincinnati Bengals. Just to give you some stats of while he was at LSU, He's the only player in college history to pass 12,000 yards and rush for 3,000.
Wow.
So he has some very heavy stats here. In a single game against Oregon, he had a career high of 408 yards. And who at the time was the starting quarterback at Oregon? Justin
Herbert.
Yes, he was.
My gorgeous king.
But if we're looking at just his last year at LSU, he finished the 2023 season 9-3, which sounds really good, but it was kind of middle of the pack. And for the SEC, the conference that he's in, it is quite competitive. So he didn't quite make it. But I think coming out of that 2023 season, he does have a ton of accolades coming out of that, a lot of awards that he's won. But the most notable is him winning the Heisman Trophy in 2023, beating out other competitors like Bo Nix, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Penix Jr., who are also going to be in this NFL draft coming up tomorrow. But if you take a look at his Heisman speech, he usually they're, over 5 minutes long, 5 to 10 minutes. And throughout that whole time, he's thanking, of course, like his mom, his dad, all of his family, many players and the coaches on the teams that he's played at, including LSU and ASU. One that is the most notable that I think is interesting is he thanks a previous coach that he worked with at ASU, who is Antonio Pierce, the current head coach of the Raiders.
Very interesting.
Very tea. The tea is piping hot. And I'll tell you about that why in just a little bit. But outside of the Heisman Trophy, I know I talked about some of the other accolades that he's won, including the Manning Award. He's won an All-American Award, the Walter Camp Award, and there were so many others, but those were kind of like some of the most notable ones. Looking ahead and kind of prepping for the draft, of course, there are many teams that are looking to draft him. There's speculation that he will be the overall second or third pick. And kind of come leading up to the draft, he's met with teams like the Patriots, the Commanders, the Raiders, the Giants. He didn't compete in the combine, but LSU did have a pro day where it's pretty much mocked exactly like the combine. They get to show off some skills like the 40-yard dash and vertical jumps, a lot of like track and field kind of events. And then they usually do some drills on how well their arm strength is and their agility. They're usually getting pressured just as they would in a real game. So I think that there is a lot of speculation of him really being able to compete at a high level while he's in the NFL as a starting quarterback. Of these, 5 teams that I named, Patriots, Commanders, Raiders, Giants, I believe the Commanders has the highest pick out of the 5. So a lot of people speculating that he will be going to the Washington Commanders. But I have to address a recent visit with the Washington Commanders that Jayden Daniels was part of.
It didn't go so well.
Didn't go so well for Jayden. But I'm going to call this Top Golf Gate.
This is crazy. I would say like the Commanders had him like all but locked up at pick number 2.
Yes.
But now Top Golf Gate has thrown a wrench.
It really has thrown a wrench. And I think a lot of us all know that the Commanders really do need to make some big moves in this NFL draft. Being the overall number 2 pick, like you have the world at your fingertips outside of Caleb Williams, of course, which we believe and speculate that he will be going to the Bears. But they have a lot of things to turn around. Also, they were last in the NFL report card standing. So there's a lot of things that they needed to show up and show out a little bit for these prospects. Jayden Daniels being one of them. So for this Top Golf Gate, this happened about a week ago. Jayden Daniels was picked up at the airport. Who was there? The head coach and the GM. It's speculated that these two men told him, normally when some of the teams, the GMs and the head coaches are meeting with them, they are having one-on-one conversations, interviewing them, again, getting to know like what their tics are and what they would be doing differently if they're pressured, and just kind of trying to get to know them outside of football, like who they are as people as well. But they pick him up at the airport and they tell him, you're going to be going to play golf, Top Golf with 4 other QB prospects that we're looking to possibly join our team as well.
Hell no.
He didn't take that so well, and his agent didn't take that so well either. I think that their goal of this was just to see how well they respond to something that's just like not really expected, and almost want to see how they overcome adversity in some ways, which is kind of a twisted way because this is a Top Golf event. We don't know if he was good at Top Golf or not, but it's a strange way to kind of show off how well they do under pressure.
So you think that they did this on purpose to kind of shake him up a little bit? It wasn't because the Commanders are undecided at who they're going to pick and they wanted to take all the guys out for a nice day at Top Golf?
I mean, it's a little bit of speculation. I think it's 50-50.
That's crazy.
I also think that they want to see how they're interacting in a social setting. But again, these are other prospects that they likely won't even be playing with on the Commanders. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison on how they will do in the Commanders locker room versus just like in a normal social setting.
Yeah.
Like within people who you're going to be playing against.
Which, like, to be fair, the social aspect of it is so important at a QB position because they're looking to that guy to be a leader. Can you have the rest of the offense respect you? Can you have the defense wanting to defend you? Or not the offensive line. And then, of course, the defense getting you back out there and really just like turning the game around so you can get back out there trusting you.
Yep.
You need to be the leader in so many different aspects. I remember, this is completely off topic, but when I was at a Chargers game and Justin Herbert got kind of like late hit out of bounds, the entire bench cleared and everyone on the Chargers roster got in a fight and they were in this guy's face and they were so mad. And I just remember thinking like, oh, they respect him so much. Like that's their QB. Like you have to get a likable guy that everyone on the team wants to support and respects and has confidence in. So
100%
sucks.
Yeah.
Socially.
You want someone who the team is going to rally around. But again, I don't know. I think it was only prospects. So it's hard to replicate that same experience.
Yeah, it wasn't the exact team.
I think that they tried to do something fun and new and different just to throw a wrench in how he was going to feel. But I don't think it was really well received on Jayden Daniels' end. Again, I think he's going to play it very coy when he's in interviews. And we have seen this, that he's going to go wherever his number is called. But at the same time, I don't know if you want to do a risky move when you're the Commanders and it's giving desperation in some ways. That might be mean, but let me know if you agree.
No, I feel like this move from the Commanders shows that they're not like locked in with Jayden Daniels at number 2. I think number 1 being Caleb Williams, but the next 3, while Jayden Daniels is kind of the favorite to go at number 2, JJ McCarthy and Drake May are also such talented quarterbacks that they're kind of flip-flopping in what order people think they'll go in. There's been a lot of speculation and maybe the Commanders aren't sure either. Maybe they're watching the tapes and they're talking internally of who do we want to be our guy?
Yeah.
Who can we count on? And
this was like the last test.
And yeah, maybe they didn't want to like make it seem like they were leaning so heavily Jayden. They wanted to get to know the other guys. And Drake May was like, oh my God, I had the best time of my life.
Yeah.
So maybe they like him now. And maybe Drake May saying like, hey guys, pick me. Like I'm a fun guy. I enjoy Top Golf.
Yeah.
Like I have a really good golf swing. I can, kind of handle any adversity thrown at me. But
Totally.
It's just so interesting that it's like this late in the game, there's a Top Golf event that is causing drama.
Yeah. And maybe a part of it was maybe Jayden just isn't good at golf, and it wasn't. He like knew. He was like, "Dang it!" Of all things, like they're bringing me to Top Golf, and
they embarrassed me.
Yeah. So who knows? We will be talking about Drake May in just a little bit on that same Top Golf event, but he reacted actually very positively to it. But again, all of those decisions and how they're reacting and how they're talking about it in interviews could impact how. That number 2, 3 spot overall.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about Jayden McDaniels is, so speculation. I think top choice, a lot of people are saying Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
But there are some rumors that have been coming out over the last few days that the Raiders actually might be vying for his attention, which is exciting. And the reason why, do you want to say anything?
I was just going to say, the Raiders being a division rival of the Chargers, I am rooting heavily against this happening. And I want the Raiders to stay out of it. They're currently at pick 13. So where they're at now, they can't do anything. But I'm sure you're going to get into it. I just want to say,
Yeah.
I'm mad.
You know, who knows? Did you say that the Raiders, what's their pick number at?
They're
right
number
now?
13.
They're
And
number 13.
They would be behind, Vikings, Broncos, Patriots, who also need a quarterback. So
Exactly. Okay. So we don't know exactly how they'd pull it off, but this is also one of those instances where, sure, the Raiders, they were kind of like middle of the pack. They didn't do so great, which is why they're at that 13th pick. But they could trade up to, let's say, I'm just going to throw this out there, the Patriots, who are at number 3. They could trade for a player in exchange for that overall 3rd pick. But again, there's a day left in the draft, so we'll see exactly what they do. The reason why these rumors kind of went off are a number of things. First being, Jayden actually did an interview on Shannon Sharp's podcast called Nightcap. He does it alongside of Ocho Cinco, who is a former Bengal. And they essentially asked him, without asking him directly, like, how would you feel if you were able to work alongside of Antonio Pierce again, knowing that he's the head coach of the Raiders. And he kind of just talked him up and down. Antonio Pierce used to be, I think, a recruiting coordinator for ASU. Then he kind of moved into a new position where he was a defensive coordinator. So he's definitely worked with Jayden in the past. But I think Jayden kind of starts out by saying, I'm going to go where my number is called. But he talks Antonio Pierce up and down, saying he is in such a good place at the Raiders. I know he challenged me when I was, 18, 19 years old, and he really pushes people's buttons in the right way to make them better players. So I don't think it's completely out of the question. Again, I don't know how they would pull it off, but to see a, reunion of AP is what Antonio Pierce goes by, what they call him in the NFL world. And Jayden could be quite exciting to see.
I know. And I do know that a lot of Raiders really love Antonio Pierce, and he became their head coach middle of last season. I'm sure too that Jayden Daniels would be so excited to go back to a guy that's so loved. And I mean, just looking at the draft layout of where they would need to trade up to be able to get him or like any of the top 4, I feel like their best bet is like seeing if maybe the Cardinals would trade with them, maybe the Giants. I don't think the Chargers at number 5 are going to trade with them because, again, division rivalry. They're not going to help them out and help them get a more competitive QB.
Yeah.
What they also are up against is not only they're at the 13th spot, but the Vikings are at 11, also in need of a quarterback. And the Vikings have 2 first-round picks. So they automatically have that at their disposal to wave in front of teams and say, you can get a really good deal. You can get 2 good players. And the Raiders don't have that. They just have the 13th pick in the first round. They could obviously offer more picks in later rounds, more picks in future years. It's just how badly they want to make this deal happen and how much they're willing to offer.
Yeah. How bad do you want it?
I hope not bad enough. They can stay at 13 for all I care. Don't take that. Pete,
Sorry,
do you have
just
any
charging
thoughts on Top Golf Gate or any of the Jayden Daniels drama?
I think there's always drama around the NFL draft. This happens every year with quarterbacks. People saying like, oh, he doesn't want to play there, blah, 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 blah. I think half of it is what I would call media puffery, just trying to get people to look at something. There's really nothing going on in the NFL otherwise. So you're trying to make a story. But yeah, most of these guys, I mean, you look at people like Joe Burrow who go to the Bengals, the worst team for a long time, and take them to a Super Bowl in a couple years. Like, you get the right quarterback, you get the right coach. If you bring players through the system, train them well, any team can do it. So yeah, I think most of these guys, they're going to be excited to go anywhere. This is their lifelong dream, is to play in the NFL. I think if they had their pick, they'd play for the Chiefs or the Niners or the Cowboys, but those people just aren't, if you're a great player, you're not going to get to go to those teams. So I think most of them are fine. I think some of the drama is real. The Top Golf thing is a little weird. And if I was if I was expecting to be courted and like taken care of, and I went to like a group setting, I'd be like, it would definitely leave a bad taste in my mouth. But we'll see. I think the draft's going to go exactly how it's supposed to go, which is Jayden's going to go second. The only thing is if he doesn't, then there's a New England thing where they might trade. But otherwise, I think it's all going to go as planned.
Yeah, that makes sense. They want to be wined and dined,
I know. It's like, imagine thinking you're going on like a date with a guy and then he brings 3 other women. I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah. So we get it, Jayden. Something else that I thought was interesting. This is like super random, but since you were saying like, if they had to choose, then they would probably go to, the Chiefs or the Niners or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he said that his favorite team is the 49ers, but he was like, I'm sure that my chances aren't very good there, which we get.
Yeah. It's like, I think most obviously you want to win, you want to get on the winning team with the good coaches. But I think something else that's important is that all these guys would be starting on whatever teams they're on. I'm sure there's other quarterbacks that are going to get drafted as backups to better teams, and you get to play on the better teams, but you're a backup. So you don't really get your chance in the spotlight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of the curse of being the best. You get to go to the worst team.
Totally. Yeah. And if Jayden does end up going to the Commanders, then he'd be in the same locker room as Marcus Mariota, who is a veteran, and would be mentoring him essentially. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.